What if the person you trusted most was actually the person who had been using you your entire life? And what if, after finally escaping that person, episode titled All Good Things brings Lucky's entire story to a dangerous breaking point? The FBI is closing in, Wayne Whitaker wants his money, Priscilla has her own agenda. Someone inside the FBI is secretly working for the criminals, and Lucky's father, John, is about to make one final choice that will completely destroy their relationship. But here's the interesting part. The biggest enemy Lucky faces in the finale isn't Wayne, it isn't the FBI, and it isn't even Priscilla. It is the man she has spent her entire life trying to protect, her father. So how does everything end? And after such a dramatic finale, is there actually going to be a season 2? Let's go back to the beginning. The episode opens with a flashback. We see a much younger Lucky preparing for another one of John's scams. But this time, something is different. Lucky is scared. She isn't thinking about the money. She isn't thinking about the con. She's thinking about whether she's going to survive. John notices her fear, but instead of protecting her, he gives her the same kind of reassurance he has probably given her countless times before. Everything will be fine. Everything will go according to plan. And young Lucky believes him. That memory becomes extremely important later, because in the present, Lucky is about to enter another dangerous situation created by the same man. Only this time, she isn't a child anymore, and she isn't blindly following John's plan. Lucky is going to make her own. She drives out toward the meeting location with Agent Billy Rand. Meanwhile, Priscilla prepares for the meeting too. Before leaving, Dutch gives her something unexpected. A watch that belonged to Carrie. Priscilla puts it on. It seems like a small detail, but in this episode, almost everything has meaning. Carrie's memory is about to influence Priscilla's biggest decision. Then Wayne arrives. The meeting is ready, and everyone thinks they know what is about to happen. But almost nobody understands how much Lucky has already figured out. The FBI's plan. Lucky meets Rand and Kershaw at the designated location. The objective is simple. Lucky needs to get Wayne to admit that he was involved in the gas scam. Once she has the confession, she can hand over the money. Lucky is wearing a wire. The FBI will be watching from a distance, and if things go wrong, Lucky has a safe word. Genius. But there is a problem. Lucky is walking directly into Wayne's world, and Wayne has never been the kind of man who plays fair. Rand and Kershaw move into position. Lucky is left alone. She waits, and then Wayne and Priscilla arrive. For a moment, everything appears calm, almost too calm. Wayne talks to Priscilla during the drive. He thanks her for everything she has done. He talks about moving forward. He barely shows any emotion when Carrie's name comes up, and that tells us something important. Wayne doesn't seem capable of grieving like a normal person. To him, people are useful until they aren't, even his own son. When they finally reach Lucky, the real game begins. Lucky talks about Carrie. She explains that Carrie didn't simply steal the money. He was trying to make a statement. He was trying to hurt his father. Wayne wants the money. Lucky gives him a phone. The money has been converted into cryptocurrency. But there is one problem. The seed phrase is only in Lucky's head. And without that phrase, Wayne can't access anything. Lucky has just turned herself into the only thing standing between Wayne and his fortune. But then Lucky reveals something much more dangerous. She knows Wayne already knew about the cryptocurrency. He already knew about Carrie's movements. And most importantly, he knew the FBI was coming. Suddenly, the entire situation changes, because there is only one way Wayne could know. Someone inside the FBI has been feeding him information, and Lucky already knows who. Lucky drops the bombshell. The FBI has a mole, and the mole is Kershaw. Rand immediately realizes what's happening. She turns her gun toward her own boss. But before she can act, Wayne reveals his backup plan. And this is where the finale becomes a completely different story. A badly beaten man is brought forward. It's John, Lucky's father. Wayne has kidnapped him, and suddenly Lucky's perfect plan is in serious trouble. Because Lucky can handle Wayne. She can handle the FBI. She can even handle betrayal. But John is different. John is the person who has controlled her life for years, and Wayne knows exactly how to use that weakness. Meanwhile, the FBI operation is collapsing. On the nearby oil tank, Kershaw attacks Rand. The two fight for control of the weapon. Rand is pushed toward the edge. For a moment, it looks like she's going over. She grabs onto the railing. She struggles to pull herself back up, and when she finally does, the fight starts again. This time, Rand gets the gun. She shoots Kershaw. The FBI mole is dead, but Lucky's situation is getting worse, because Wayne has another advantage. John is still his hostage. Lucky tries to negotiate. She tells Wayne that if he wants the seed phrase, he has to let both her and John go. Wayne considers it. Then he changes his mind. And this is where we see exactly what kind of man Wayne really is. He decides Lucky is too dangerous to keep alive. But he doesn't just want her dead. He wants John to watch. Wayne hands Priscilla his gun and orders her to kill Lucky. Priscilla raises the weapon. Lucky looks directly at her. Everything stops. This could be the end. But no one expected what happens next. Priscilla turns the gun away from Lucky and points it at Wayne. She fires. Wayne is shocked. He never saw the betrayal coming. Priscilla has finally made her choice. And this isn't about money. It isn't about the FBI. It's about Carrie. It's about everything Wayne has taken from her. And perhaps on some level, it's about the mother she knows she failed to be. Dutch suddenly appears and helps Priscilla eliminate Wayne's remaining men. The situation becomes a bloodbath. And eventually, Priscilla stands over Wayne. She tells him he should have been a better father. Then she shoots him. Wayne is finally dead. The monster who has been controlling so many lives is gone. But Lucky isn't safe yet, because John is still there. Lucky and John try to escape. They run. They think they finally made it out. But Dutch catches them. And instead of killing them, he takes them back to Priscilla. Lucky now has one final chance. She looks at Priscilla and asks for something simple. A chance to leave. A chance to stop running. A chance to live a normal life. And surprisingly, Priscilla agrees. She lets Lucky and John go. She even allows them to keep the money. Priscilla says Carrie would have wanted Lucky to have it. Then she gives them one final warning. Never come back. Lucky and John leave. But their story isn't over, because Agent Rand is still hunting Priscilla. By the time Rand arrives, Priscilla and Dutch are gone. Rand has lost Wayne. She's lost Kershaw. And she's lost the chance to arrest Priscilla. But Rand isn't finished. Later, she confronts Priscilla and makes one thing clear. This isn't over. She will come for her. And that leaves Priscilla's future uncertain. But the most important part of the finale happens afterward. Lucky and John arrive at a motel. For a moment, everything seems peaceful. They have money, they are alive, Wayne is dead, the FBI has lost them. It looks like they have finally won. But Lucky knows better. She has been watching her father for too long. She knows what he wants. John talks about their future. He wants to celebrate. He wants food. He wants to start planning what they'll do with the money. But Lucky tells him something he doesn't want to hear. She's done. She's leaving this life. John doesn't understand. Or perhaps he simply refuses to accept it. Then he asks about the seed phrase. Lucky shows him Carrie's teddy bear. And John immediately becomes interested. This is the moment Lucky has been waiting for. Because Lucky knows something John doesn't. The bear isn't just a sentimental object. It is a test. To understand that test, we need to go back to Lucky's childhood. Earlier in the episode, we saw flashes of her standing beside a swimming pool. Now we understand why. When Lucky was young, John once used her in one of his scams. He made her jump into a hotel pool even though she couldn't swim. His goal? To create a scene. He wanted to threaten the hotel and use Lucky's near drowning to strengthen his case for getting a free room. It sounds absurd, but Lucky nearly died, and John never saw the problem. To him, it was just another successful con. That memory has stayed inside Lucky for years, and now she finally understands what it means. John has always been willing to risk her life for money. He didn't simply make mistakes. He made a choice. Again and again. Money came first, the con came first, Lucky came second. And now Lucky is finally ready to break that cycle. The next morning, Lucky wakes up. John is gone. The car is gone. And so is the teddy bear. John has taken it. At first, it looks like Lucky has been betrayed. But then we discover the truth. Lucky expected this. John plays the recording inside the bear. Instead of finding the information he wanted, he hears Lucky's voice. She explains everything. She reminds him of the swimming pool. She tells him that he was willing to risk her life for a scam. And she tells him that she will never do it. Lucky isn't giving John the money, but she is giving him something else. Freedom. She loves him, but she cannot continue living like this. She cannot keep risking her life for him, and she cannot keep pretending that he's going to change. John gets out of the car and screams, but it's too late. For the first time, Lucky has walked away. Not because someone rescued her, not because the FBI saved her, not because Wayne was killed, because she chose herself. And that's the real climax of the entire series.
But there is still one final twist. Agent Rand arrives at work, and waiting on her desk is a package. Inside is a laptop. The crypto account is already there, and beside it, the seed phrase. Lucky has given Rand access to the money. Think about what that means. Lucky could have kept it. She could have disappeared with millions. Instead, she chooses to leave the money behind. Because Lucky finally understands something. The money was never the real prize. Freedom was. And then the episode cuts to Lucky. She's sitting on a beach. She's smiling. There are no criminals around her, no FBI agents, no father, no scams, no plans. Just silence. For the first time in her life, Lucky is completely free. And that is where season 1 ends. The beach isn't just a happy ending. It represents something much deeper. Throughout the season, water has been connected to Lucky's fear. She remembers drowning. She dreams about drowning. And one of the most traumatic moments of her childhood involves her father forcing her into a swimming pool. Water represents danger. It represents losing control. It represents John's manipulation. But in the final shot, Lucky is near the water voluntarily, and she's smiling. That's the transformation. The thing that once represented fear no longer controls her. Lucky has survived. She has confronted her past, and she has finally taken control of her future. The title Lucky also becomes more meaningful. For most of the season, it seems like Lucky survives because she's clever, because she's good at scams, because she can predict people. But by the end, her real luck is something else. She gets the chance to start over. Now we reach the big question. Will there be a season 2? And this is where we have to separate the story from speculation. Season 1 was structured as a complete story. Lucky's central conflict has been resolved. She escapes John. Wayne is dead. Kershaw is exposed. Priscilla gets away. Rand continues her pursuit. And Lucky reaches the beach, finally free. So from a storytelling perspective, season 1 gives us a natural ending. But there are still loose threads. And those loose threads could become the foundation of another season. The biggest one is Priscilla and Rand. Rand hasn't given up. Priscilla hasn't been arrested. Their conflict is still alive. That alone could provide a new storyline. Then there's John. Lucky says she will never see him again. But John is still alive, and he's angry. That doesn't necessarily mean he should return. In fact, Lucky's ending is more powerful if she truly escapes him. But television has a way of bringing old problems back. There is also the question of Lucky herself. What happens when someone who has spent their entire life running scams suddenly has to live a normal life? Can she really get a regular job? Can she trust ordinary people? Can she build friendships? Can she have a healthy relationship? Can she stop looking over her shoulder? Those questions could make a very different season 2. Instead of Lucky trying to escape the criminal world, we could see her trying to learn how to live without it. And that could actually be more interesting. If the series returns, there are several directions the story could take. The first possibility is Rand versus Priscilla. Rand becomes obsessed with finally bringing Priscilla down. Priscilla, meanwhile, has to build a new life after Wayne's death. That could create an entirely different kind of cat and mouse story. The second possibility is Lucky's new life. Lucky could disappear completely. New name, new city, new job, new friends, but her past could eventually catch up with her. And the irony would be that the woman who spent her entire life escaping criminals now has to escape the identity she created for herself. The third possibility is John's revenge. This would be the darkest option. John has lost the money, he's lost Lucky, and he's lost control. If he blames Lucky for everything, he could become an unpredictable threat. But there's a problem. Bringing John back too aggressively could weaken the emotional ending of season 1. Lucky's victory depends on her finally breaking away from him. So if the writers return to John, they would need to do it carefully. And there is one more possibility. The money. Lucky gave the crypto account to Rand. But what happens when Rand realizes exactly how much money is sitting in that account? Does the FBI keep it? Does someone else try to steal it? Could the money itself become the center of another conspiracy? That could bring Lucky back into the game even if she doesn't want to return. And that is perhaps the most interesting possible setup. Because Lucky's greatest enemy in season 2 wouldn't have to be a person. It could be her past. So if Lucky does return for season 2, the real question shouldn't be, can Lucky survive another criminal conspiracy? It should be, can Lucky learn how to live when she no longer has to survive? Because escaping the old life was only the first step. Building a new one could be the real challenge. And perhaps that's the story worth telling.